Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 18. Udara sarva evaite,
उदार सर्व एवैते
yani tva atmeva me matam,
ज्ञानी तव आत्ममैव मे मतम्
astita sahi yuktatma,
आस्थिता सा हि युक्तात्मा
mam evanutamam gatem.
माम् एवानुत्तमं गतम्. Translation. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a mahatma or great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit, and when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says, Sadhavo Ridyam Mahyam Sadhunam Riddayam Tab Aham Mad Anyat Tena Jananti Naham Tebhyo Manak Api. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me.
Krishna had been saying that this material energy, um, she says separated energy, living entities are his spiritual energy. And then he was telling us how we can get out of this material energy. He said, surrender to him. Then he says, four kinds of pious people come to him. That does anyone remember what kind of four people come to Krishna? Four kind of pious people come to Krishna. He
Is
says
it
it.
that because they
Ar-
want.
Hmm. कौन सा है?
Arth,
हाँ, अर्थ,
Arth Jigyasu
yeah.
and Jigyasu and Artharthi, Labharthi. और चौथा
That's one who's searching for knowledge.
knowledge, Jigyasu
The inquisitive,
and Gyani.
Inquisitive,
And Gyani. हाँ.
Gyani. Yeah. So four kind
desire,
of people, those. Yeah,
distressed.
yeah. Desire, well, distressed. One who's
Inquisitive
inquisitive.
and
Mm-hmm.
for knowledge, and then who
No,
looking for knowledge.
yeah, that's right. So four kind of pious people means some who has gotten some sukriti, who has done
हाँ.
some spiritual pious activity. Then he comes to Krishna. Then Krishna says, out of all the four, the one who is in knowledge is very dear to him. the one who understands Krishna as the absolute truth, And then Krishna is saying that, of course, all the souls, all the devotees who come to him are mahatmas, whether they are distressed, looking for wealth, inquisitive, and coming in knowledge. All of them are great souls because they've come to Krishna. So they're all mahatmas, you know. And but then he's saying that one who understands that Krishna is the absolute truth, that the living entity is his part and parcel, means he's coming to Krishna in knowledge, means he's a pure devotee. He is
Mm.
very dear to Krishna, very, very dear to Krishna. So we also heard that one may come to Krishna looking for something, for some wealth or some relief from suffering, maybe just coming to Krishna out of curiosity or really, so even whatever reason one comes to Krishna, if one hears from the pure devotee, associates with the pure devotee, one will also become a pure devotee. He will also come to the perfect stage. And here Krishna is saying that the pure devotee is engaging in pure devotional service. So for sure he will attain me. For sure he will be in his eternal relationship with Krishna. So, yeah, Prabhupada is saying that anyone who comes to Krishna is magnanimous, Mahatma. And the devotees who are engaging in devotional service, because some of us may have some needs which we need to be fulfilled. So we go to Krishna for fulfillment of that. So it's an affectionate relationship. Like the son goes to the father to fulfill some desire. It's out of love. It's because it's a loving relationship. So it's out of this affection that the devotee comes to Krishna and he asks something. And Krishna also fulfills out of affection. And then these devotees, they also advance in spiritual knowledge. They also advance. They also get more and more purified, understand the eternal relationship with Krishna. And then he comes to the pure devotional platform. He understands that the only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. So initially, the devotee may come to Krishna out of desire for material benefits, no? or, or knowledge, or needing some mystic power, or whatever. But as he continues in devotional service, he will get purified and he will come to the stage of pure devotional service. And when one comes to the state of pure devotional service, he's very, very dear to Krishna and Krishna is very dear to him. So Bhagavatam says that Krishna is saying, the devotees are always in my heart and I'm always in the heart of the devotees. It's a loving relationship. When we love someone a lot, we're always thinking of them, speaking of them, we are trying to please them. The same, the devotee and Krishna, there's a loving relationship between them. So the devotee is always thinking of Krishna, always trying to please Krishna. Krishna is always thinking of the devotee, wants to please the devotee, taking care of the devotee. So the devotee cannot forget Krishna and Krishna cannot forget the devotee. This is the perfection to come to this stage. Each and every one of us has this eternal relationship with Krishna. Each and every one. And the more we hear and chant, gradually we can be situated in this relationship. Is that okay?
Yes.
Going on to the next one. bahunam janmanam ante.
Bahunam janmamam ante.
Jnanavan mam prapadyate.
Jnanavan mam prapapyate.
Vasudeva sarvam iti.
Vasudeva sarvam iti.
Sa mahatma sudurlabha.
Sa mahatma sudurlabha. Translation. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that He is the cause of all causes, and that His material manifestation is not independent from Him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variedness and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus, he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the third chapter of the Shvetasvara Upanishad. Sahasra Shri Purusha Sahar Sahas Raksa Sahasrapat Sa Bhumin Vishvavo Vritva Tishad Dasangulam Purusha Evadam Sarvam Yat Bhutam Yach Cha Bhavyam Utamrat Tat Vashe Sano Yad Anye Natiruhati. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers' breadth. He is, in fact, this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality, and all of that is nourished by food. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, Navai Vako Na Chakshina Srutrani Na Mamanisti Akashaste Pratna Ti Iva Iva Chakste Prana Evatani Sarvani Bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak nor the power to think is a prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva or personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna is the prime entity in everything. In this body, there are powers of speaking, of seeing, of hearing, of mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Supreme Lord. And because pervading, and everything is Vasudeva. The devotee surrenders in full knowledge.
So Krishna is saying that um, who's the Mahatma? One who actually surrenders unto him. This may happen. One who is in knowledge, it may take him many, many births and deaths. And to understand Krishna as the cause of all causes. And such a great soul is very rare, very rare. So Prabhupada is explaining that gradually, while executing devotional service, after many, many births, one can understand that Krishna is the absolute truth. In the beginning, what happens is one comes to understand, then one just takes up spirituality. One may think of the Lord not as a person, but as a supreme spirit. And that's what Prabhupada is saying, that in the beginning, that when one is trying to give up material attachment, then we may have some sort of impersonal idea that I want to get detached from the material world and negate everything, not understanding that Krishna is actually a person. But as one continues in spiritual advancement, then one can understand that, oh, it's not that you have to negate everything, but there is activity. There are activities in spiritual life. There is devotional service. That it's not that there's no inactivity in the spiritual realm. Initially, one may think that, but as one gradually advances in spiritual life, one will understand that, oh, there's a loving relationship. Oh, there's the Supreme Lord. That Krishna, he's the Supreme Lord. And then one automatically wants to surrender to him. When we see someone great, someone really better than us, then we want to listen to them. We want to hear from them, surrendering to them. So as one gradually advances in spiritual knowledge, one understands that Krishna is the cause of all causes, and one automatically wants to surrender to him. So, and understanding that this material world, it's not that it just happened by chance, but this material world is created by Krishna. This material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So we see here in the material world, there is activity, there's variety, there's forms. Because the reality is in the spiritual world, that's why we are able to see the reflection. Just like because we stand in front of the mirror, so our reflection is in the mirror. The reflection can't be there if the reality is not there. The mirror won't be able to reflect anything if there is nothing in front of the mirror. But as soon as there's something in front of the mirror will reflect. So similarly, because there's variety in the spiritual world, that is reflected here in the material world. And as one gradually advances in spiritual knowledge, one understands that everything has a relationship with Supreme Lord Krishna. Everything, everyone belongs to Krishna. There is nothing or no one that does not belong to Krishna. And then the devotee, because he's so advanced, he's become purified, he's understood the relationship of Krishna with everything. So he's always looking at everything in relation to Krishna. Just like a mother, she sees her son's bag. So she'll immediately she'll immediately remember the son also. To her, she will think, oh, this bag belongs to my son. She doesn't just see the bag, but why does she do that? Because of the love. She loves her son. So when she sees the bag, immediately the son comes in mind. Similarly, the pure devotee, because he's revived his love for Krishna, so he sees everything in relation to Krishna. And everything belongs to Krishna. So the pure devotee, he has understood that everything and anything comes from Krishna. And this is full surrender. And this is the highest goal. And Krishna is saying such surrendered great souls are very rare. Saying one who comes to this platform is a Mahatma. So Mahatma Sudurlabha. So Mahatma is a great soul and it's very rare. So Prabhupada is quoting here Shvateshvatara Upanishad. Shvateshvatara Upanishad is saying that Lord Vishnu, he is unlimited. He's encompassing the whole universe. So he's unlimited. But yet he's beyond the whole universe. Everything belongs to Krishna. There's nothing or no one that does not belong to Krishna. The heavens, the hells, these earthly planets, all the living entities, whatever we can think of, all belongs to Krishna. And yet Krishna is beyond it. Why? Because Krishna is much greater. He also has the spiritual world. The body of Krishna is transcendental, not material. So here it's being said, in the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activity. So the living force. Because we are inside the body, that's the reason the body can have the power to speak or see or do any activity, because the soul is within. And so similarly, it is because of Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudeva, that anything and everything is existing. Anything and everything is existing is because of Lord Krishna. So we need to engage anything and everything in the service of Krishna because they belong to him. And the devotee, he's pure devotee, he's understood that Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. He's omnipresent, he's omnipotent. And so he surrenders to Krishna in full knowledge, understanding the supreme position of Krishna. That everything is Krishna's energy that we are seeing. We'll go to the next. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Kamesteste Hritagyanam
Kamestester Vitajnana
Prapadyante Nyadevata
Prapadyante Devata
Tam Niyamam Asthaya
Tam niyamam ashtaya
Prakritya Niyata Swayam.
prakritya niyata svaya. Translation: those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him, as stated in the Bhagavatam. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance, and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided because in Vedic literature there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. Example, a deceased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamita, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabha Bhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is master and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives.
So here then Krishna is saying the position of one who worships demigods. What happens is we have material desires, and then we go to the demigods because we know they will fulfill our material desires. But what happens is the demigods will fulfill our material desires, but yet the benefit of those desires is temporary. For example, one may worship the demigod for wealth, and then one may get really wealthy. But then after one dies, all the wealth is left behind. So the result that we get from the demigods is temporary. That's the reason Krishna is saying those who worship the demigods, their intelligence is stolen by material desires. So we need to understand that uh, even if we have material desires, we should approach Krishna. Bhagavatam recommends this. Bhagavatam is saying whether we are full of material desires, we have no material desires, or we desire liberation, we should worship Krishna in all circumstances because Krishna fulfills our desires and also gives us perfection. Krishna fulfills our desires and he will still bring us out of this material world. He'll do it in such a way that he'll bring us out of the material world. We simply have to worship Krishna. But the demigods have no such power to bring us out of the spiritual world. The demigods are also parts and parcel of Krishna. We just read that everyone belongs to Krishna. So even the demigods belong to Krishna. Even the demigods are following Krishna's orders. It is under the Krishna's, you know how the president will give the powers to the ministers, minister of education, minister of treasury, like the treasurer, then there'll be minister of transport, minister of agriculture. So they're getting all their powers from the prime minister or the president. Similarly, the demigods, they are powerful rulers in the administration of the universe, and they're getting their powers from the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is saying, you want something, you come to me. Don't worship the demigods. Doesn't mean we disrespect them. No, they are very great personalities. They are much more qualified than us. And Lord Chaitanya says that we should offer respect to everyone. The devotee offers respect to even ant and even to Lord Brahma. So respect should be given, but worship is for Krishna. Because Krishna will fulfill our desire and give us the highest goal. But the demigods won't be able to do that. The demigods won't be able to take us out of the material world. So Caitaniya Caritamita says that Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhabhritya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and all of us are servants. Even Lord Brahma, he is the creator of this universe. Krishna first creates Brahma, and then Brahma, he does the second creation. So Lord Brahma is the most powerful personality in this universe. Even he is a servant of Krishna. So the pure devotee, he understands that Krishna is the cause of all causes, that everyone belongs to Krishna. He understands even the demigods belong to Krishna. And so even if he has some material desire, he comes to Krishna. And whoever comes to Krishna, gradually, their attraction to the material nature gets reduced. And then they can become free from all material lust. So this is the benefit of coming to Krishna, even if we have material desires, because Krishna takes away our material contamination. We are, after all, the souls, not the body. But if we come to Krishna, gradually, we will come to the understanding that, oh, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Sorry, I think I said it wrong. So we come to Krishna and we will come to the understanding that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Whereas if we go to the demigods, we will not come to that understanding. We will be continuing to staying in the material world with repeated birth and death. So that's why Bhagavatam is saying, whatever is our position, we have many material desires, we have no material desire, or we desire liberation. Worship Krishna. Is that okay? Again, we see that, pointing out, the respect is to be given to the demigods. Of course, they are great personalities. But when we need something, we ask Krishna. Worship Krishna. That's the pure devotee. He's completely depending on Krishna. Going to the next one. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta.
Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta.
Shraddha yarchitum ichchati.
Shraddhya yarchitam ichchati.
Tasya chalam shraddham. Tam eva vidadami aham. So, not sure if you can continue reading. If you're not able to read, I can read, or anyone else can read.
Hare
You
Krishna.
can read? Yeah.
Sorry. Should I read?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Translation. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all Some may ask why the all powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusionary energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as the Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes, but his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita one should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a such a demigod. For example, the diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are Vedic scriptures for different modes of worship of different demigods. Living because the particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod, and so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul is also present present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They are not independent.
So Krishna first says that we are unintelligent if we worship the demigods for material desire, saying, "Come to me." Then he's saying that I am the Paramatma. Krishna is the Paramatma in everyone's heart. And as soon as we have a desire to worship a particular demigod, whoever that demigod may be, Krishna is the one who gives us faith. The demigod cannot give us that faith to worship them. But when Krishna sees, oh, this one is desiring to worship this particular deity, maybe Lord Shiva or maybe Lord Ganesh, so many demigods are there. And Krishna, because Krishna is in our heart, he's the Paramatma. So he knows our desires and he's fulfilling all our desires. We do not have the capacity to fulfill our desires. We only desire, and Krishna, because he's in the heart of all of us, he understands our desire and he makes the arrangement for fulfillment of the desire. And that is our independence, that we can desire what we want. We have a choice. Actually, the choice is we are choosing Krishna or we are choosing Maya. We are choosing to be with Krishna or we are choosing to be away from Krishna. So, but Krishna gives the facility. Whatever is our desire, Krishna gives the facility. So then one may say, then why is Krishna giving the facility to one to choose Maya? But then that is independence. Because Krishna loves us unconditionally. He can't, like you force someone, put a gun to their head and say, oh, you love me or I'll shoot. But then that's not love. One may say, yeah, I love you. But that is not going to come out of love, but out of fear. So Krishna, he loves us and he gives us this independent choice whether we want to be with Krishna or away with Krishna. Away from Krishna, then we are here in this material world. But he is also giving us the Bhagavad Gita to understand. He's saying, surrender unto me. He keeps coming time and time again. He gives instructions to us. He sends his pure devotees to help us understand, hey, you belong to me. You come back to me. We have an eternal loving relationship. That's why Krishna is saying, surrender unto me. So the demigods also belong to Krishna. Great demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Durga Devi, whoever, Saraswati Devi, all the demigods belong to Krishna. Each and every demigod belong to Krishna. So the one approaches the demigod, prays to them, and the demigod gives them the blessing. Their desire is fulfilled. Say someone wants wealth, so one goes to a particular demigod, prays for wealth, and the demigod gives him the wealth. This whole transaction is happening under the will of the Supreme Lord. Because one just had the desire to worship a particular demigod. So Krishna makes that desire very strong. He makes it into a strong faith. So he will give the faith that to approach that particular demigod. And then how is that particular demigod also fulfilling the desire? Krishna gives him the authority. Then, okay, you give him the wealth. Krishna is also the Paramatma in the heart of the demigod. He's also in the heart of the demigods. The Vedic literatures are saying that. So, in the Paramatma, he gives the facility to the demigod also to fulfill this desire of the devotee. So both the demigod and the person who's worshipping the demigod, the living entity, both of them are dependent on Krishna's will. How Srila Prabhupada is saying that one may want a beautiful wife, so one goes to Uma. One wants a beautiful husband, they go to Lord Shiva. One may want education, so one goes to Saraswati Devi. One may be diseased, one goes to the sun god. So the power that the demigods have, that is given to them by Krishna. And the faith that one has to approach the demigod, that is also strengthened by Krishna. Because one just had a desire, but not the faith. So Krishna made that faith stronger. So we can see that each of us are actually completely dependent on Krishna for the fulfillment of our desires also. We simply desire and Krishna fulfills our desire. So we should desire to go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna is saying, surrender unto me. We should desire to be able to surrender to Krishna. Let me also surrender to Krishna. Let me go back home, back to Godhead. Desire to be in our eternal loving relationship with Krishna. Yeah. Desire to engage in pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means automatically liberation. Pure devotional service, there's activity on the liberated platform. So the soul is engaging in so many activities. So desire to engage in devotional service, going back home, back to God. And right now we have so many material desires. But somehow or the other, we should also try to get this spiritual desires. And Krishna will make the arrangement to fulfill these desires. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas
Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas
Tasya Radhanam Ihate
Tasyaradhanam ihate
Labhate Cha Tata Kama
labhate cha tata kaman
Maeva Vihitan Hitan.
mayeva vihitan hitan. Translation. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord, asking for material benefit. However, it is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigod usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Caitaniya Caritamita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires the material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord.
So Krishna, he's saying, so the Krishna makes the faith of the living entity strong in one particular demigod. And then Krishna is saying, when one gets this faith, then one worships the demigod, and then he gets fulfillment of the desire. For example, one may have desire, as Prabhupada was saying, one may desire a great education, so one worships Mother Saraswati. So the desire is there. Now the faith to worship is given by Krishna. And then Mother Saraswati, she'll fulfill the desire. So this fulfillment of desire is also by arrangement of Krishna. Krishna makes the arrangement that the desires should be fulfilled. The benefit, the education, that is also given by Krishna. He's saying here, endowed with such a faith, the devotee endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Because the demigods, they do not have this kind of benefits to give. But when Krishna gives the permission, Krishna tells them, okay, you give this one this thing, you give this one this thing. Then they give it. Because everything belongs to Krishna, no? And the demigods know that. We have forgotten, but the demigods don't forget because they are supposed to give. So because they're supposed to give, they have to receive it first from Krishna. Then only they can give. So it's by arrangement of Krishna that the demigods are able to fulfill our desires. And because we don't know this, we go to the demigods for the fulfillment of our desire. But what about the pure devotee? The pure devotee, he understands that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and the demigods are part and parcels of Krishna. They are servants of Krishna and they are able to fulfill the desire only because Krishna is giving this benediction. So the pure devotee, he goes directly to Krishna for fulfillment of desire. Whatever desire, as we read, no, Bhagavatam says we are full of material desires, we have no material desire, we desire liberation. Just worship Krishna because he's the absolute truth and he will give us perfection. And also we have to understand that worship to the demigod is on the material platform. It will give us material results. It will still keep us in the material world. But the worship to Supreme Lord is spiritual. It gives us spiritual results. It brings us to the spiritual world. This is what devotional service is. It's on the platform of the soul. So it can bring us to the spiritual world then. Prabhupada is saying, the pure devotee, like till the time we have material desires, we will continue to remain in the material world because Krishna fulfills our desires. Whatever is our desire, he fulfills. That's the independence he has given us, that it's our choice. So if we desire material world, then we continue to remain in the material world. But there may be a devotee who really has the desire to go back home, back to Godhead. Then a pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities. So Krishna may not fulfill the material desire of the pure devotee. Why? Because Krishna wants the devotee to come back home quickly, not linger around in the material world for a long time. And he can see that this devotee has the desire to go back to the spiritual world, has the desire to engage in devotional service, pure devotional service. So then in that case, and if Krishna sees that fulfilling the material desire of this pure devotee is going to hamper, is going to be an obstacle in his path of spiritual advancement, then Krishna may choose not to fulfill such a desire. Because Krishna is our best friend. He's our benefactor. He's the best. He does whatever is good for us. Like a parent always does good for the child. So sometimes a child may throw a tantrum asking for sweets just before bed, but the parent may refuse, understanding it's going to be really harmful for the child. So that is the position of Krishna. But anyway, Krishna is telling us, surrender to me, come to the platform. Krishna is saying, whatever is your desires, you come to me. Because he's the original, he's the one who actually fulfills all of our desires. So we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.